Ladies and gentlemen, my name is 𝐷𝐼𝐻𝑢, and with this video here, I'm just going to be sharing my opinion here on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And I have mixed feelings about this. Full disclosure, I know who the character is in the comic, and when the first trailer dropped for this movie, I was super pumped. I was like, oh, this movie's going to be good, it's going to be great. But to be honest, it's not super great like I wanted it to be. I wanted this movie to be the Asian version of Black Panther. That's what I was hoping it was going to be. But I don't think it's going to be that, to be honest. It doesn't feel like it. And I'm not saying it has to be exactly like Black Panther. When I mean it wants to be, or when I wanted it to be like the Asian version of Black Panther, I'm not saying film-wise. I don't want it to be made like Black Panther. I don't want it to be shot like that, or, you know, that same kind of formula, you know, that kind of made that work. I want the impact of the movie to be like how Black Panther was. That movie made over $1 billion because Marvel kind of, or Disney rather, didn't pander a whole lot. You know, they just kind of let the directors do their thing, and the directors and the people who made it knew that, okay, if you're making a Black Panther movie, you have to make it good, because Black Panther is one of those comic book characters we as Black people, we don't get a whole lot. Like, there's a lot of Black superheroes out there, but Black Panther was the one that was kept in high regard as far as like Black superheroes. He's the pinnacle of like the best of the best. I'm not saying character wise or what he does in his comics. I just mean like the nobility, the regalness, the character that can't fuck up. You know, that's who Black Panther is as a cultural medium. You know, he's like the pinnacle of Black superhero stereotypes. That's why he's one of the best hand-to-hand people. That's why Wakanda has the best technology. That's why he's one of the smartest guys in the Marvel comic universe. So it kind of has to be that way, because if you diminish that, then it cheapens the character, cheapens the cultural impact that people resonate with. So with this, I was kind of hoping that Shang-Chi would be that for Asians. You know, I'm gonna say a few things in this commentary. I'm not super big in Asian culture at all. I'm a Black guy from America, so I just know from what I get from movies, comics, stereotypes, that kind of sort of thing, as revolving that. So I'm not gonna have a whole lot to say about, is this movie appropriating Asian culture to make money? But we're gonna jump into some things once we get to Act 3. But my overall opinion about the movie, I think it's good, honestly. You have good fight scenes, you have good characters. The main guy who plays Shang-Chi is great. The guy who plays the Mandarin, fucking great. You have the lady from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I know her name, but my old man brain just can't think of it right now. But I know she's famous from a lot of movies over there in China and over here from back in the day. She was good in what little she played in the movie. Awkwafina, I have mixed feelings about. I'm like 50-50 on her. I'll touch on, you know, a little bit with that later, but she wasn't bad. Her acting was fine. She fit in the movie, things like that. It's just that the things that they had her do in the movie to, I guess, not make her presence known, but just the fact of you have to have her do something, that is what I don't like. And I'll touch on that once we get to Act 3. But yeah, the story of the movie is good. I mean, it's pretty much exactly what the first trailer implied there. Shang-Chi wants to escape the life that he was trained to live, so to speak. And he gets, I guess, found out, and his dad comes after him, and you have that whole bus fight. That's what kicks off the movie. That's like the first, I guess you could say, get introduced to Shang-Chi. That's like his first 10-15 minutes of the movie, is that bus fight scene, which was damn good. That bus fight scene is like the moment when I thought it was gonna be over. It was, oh no, we still got another 10 minutes of it left. Like, that fight scene on the bus was fucking great. But for the most part, the movie had a good flow to it. The tone was off, and I'll touch on that. And once you get about halfway in the movie, that flow becomes kind of bemuddled. I wish the movie would have kept the intensity of that bus fight scene, like the one that's showing or was showing on the screen just now. I wish it would have kept that intensity throughout the whole movie. The movie would have been awesome then. It doesn't. The movie tries to blend who the Mandarin is, where he came from, explaining who Shang-Chi is, who I guess the Mandarin is as a character, because this is the first time we're introduced to this character. His portion is like the first 15 minutes, and that kind of explains how he met Shang-Chi's mom. And then it jumps into Shang-Chi, and then his father's coming after him and stuff like that, and then he has to find his sister, and then they both have to sit down with the dad, and then you get into Act 3, which is, I mean, I'm gonna say this, but I don't mean it in like a stereotypical racist way, but then you jump into mystical Asian Wakanda. I mean, well, lack of a better word or lack of a better term, that's what it is. It's not exactly that, but it kind of plays into the same kind of idea. But I'll touch on that a little bit later. But the movie, once it jumps into that halfway point where he, you know, goes to find his sister and they get brought to the Mandarin, and you get to see, I guess, why the Mandarin wanted him and stuff like that. That's when the movie started to go downhill for me. Not in a bad way, meaning like, oh, this is a shitty movie, it's completely bad. No, I don't mean that. It's still a competent movie. It's shot well, it's good, the fight scenes are good, the action is decent. The story, though, it's weird. I'll say that. Once you get to that halfway point, it jumps into that mystical kind of, I forget what they called it, Tylo, but basically it's a alternate dimension mystical city. For those of you who don't know, in Marvel comic books, they have a few of them. It's like 7 or 8 of them. I don't know if they're just taking that idea and applying it to Shang-Chi. Because if I remember right, Shang-Chi, his mom was just somebody on Earth. It wasn't like, oh, she's from another dimension or anything like that. But in the movie, that's the story that they're going with. And she died somehow. I think they tell you at the end of the movie. I don't want to spoil things, so I'm not going to explain things here. But she dies, and the Mandarin, his whole point is trying to, let's say, bring her back to life or get her soul back or resurrect her some kind of way. He believes that in this ancient or in this alternate dimension city, they're keeping her spirit locked up or something like that. And in the trailer, it's like they make him out to be the bad guy. And I guess he is, but he's a misguided. Well, I can't say misguided. He's being used. That's exactly what it is. I think the movie would have been better story-wise if they would have made the Mandarin a straight bad guy. Like, no, my motivation for doing this is because I'm bad. It's because I'm evil. What I thought they were going to do is, beginning of the movie, it explains, oh, he was a criminal, then he met Shang-Chi's mom, and he left the life, so to speak, and then she died, and then he came back to it because he was lost, essentially. And he jumped right back into his evil organization and stuff like that. So what I thought they were going to do was just let that be it. And, oh, like, I'm evil now. I want you to do what, I want you to take my place, be at my side because you're my son, blah, blah, blah. That's what I thought the movie was going to be. But it's not. You get to that halfway point and you find out that his motivation is something you can relate to. Like, they made him an understandable bad guy. And I get that's what Marvel does. But that serves as, like, kind of does a disservice to the tone that you want to set. Because at the end of the movie, it's like, yeah, he's the bad guy. And I get where you're coming from. And you're not 100% bad. And it's like, and on top of that, you find out that he's just being used but don't know it. Cheapens the impact of him being the bad guy. You know what I'm saying? That's when also the movie has, like, the slow parts of the movie. The beginning was good. It was kind of action-packed. Then they get to the Mandarin stuff, and it gives you his motivations, his backstory, why he wanted his kids and stuff like that. And you don't have, like, any fight scenes during that. They throw in a couple jokes with Awkwafina all throughout the movie, and they were okay. They weren't super great, but a lot of the movie seems to be making fun of, or at least the comedy of it. The comedy of it seems to be making fun of all the weird mystical magic stuff in the movie, or Razor Fist, who was the character, the big, the guy with the knife fist that he fought on the bus. The movie seems to be half making fun of him. And honestly, something else I'll just touch on real quick. I don't know why he's in the movie. He doesn't do anything of note. He's just there to be a henchman. And to me, it would have been better if, because you already had the one hench guy, the one that controls all the ninjas, the one that's training Shang-Chi, I think, what's his name? Death Dealer? The guy he's fighting right now. And, well, not on the scaffolding, but the one who threw the thing against the window. The guy with the mask in the background, with the white mask. He's the same kind of person. He's the cool menacing guy that whooped Shang-Chi's ass, or who's like at least comparable in skill level, and you have him there. So why do you need Razor Fist? Razor Fist does nothing but get his ass handed to him and be the one big white dude that you have in the movie. It's like, I get it. He's a guy from the comic books, just like Death Dealer, but if you have two henchmen characters, what's the point in having them both do the same thing? Other than just to have Razor Fist be the comedy relief in the movie. And maybe that's why, because the other guy didn't really talk. So he was like kind of just like the silent badass ninja guy. I mean, I don't know how you would change it to make it better, but it just seems like they both do the same thing. If you have Razor Fist in there being the guy, or being the Mandarin second in command, why do you need Ninja Guy? Why was he in the movie? Take out Death Dealer and keep Razor Fist, or take out Razor Fist and make Death Dealer the guy that works for the Mandarin that's chasing Shang-Chi or something like that. It seems like to me that would have been better, because by them making fun of Razor Fist throughout the movie and having him be the Mandarin second, Death Dealer does nothing in the movie. He shows up a couple times, and then I think they kill him in a weird kind of stupid one-off joke type thing in Act 3. Like, after that 50% point, the movie slows down, and then you find something else I don't want to spoil, but they meet somebody else who explains some stuff that we already know, and then they just, oh, I know this way to escape. And then they just escape. So, because then once Act 3 picks up, it gets more action-packed. They're there fighting. It becomes a big CG fest at certain points. Still good though, but it's a lot of plot contrivances and plot armor and shit like that. One thing that bothered me with Awkwafina, she follows him all throughout the movie because he just won't say no. But they get to the end of the movie and they're at the big crux of the fight scene where they're trying to defeat the big bad evil. The big moment of the big bad, when he's about to do something really bad, and if he does it, he wins. Yeah, he wins the fight, essentially. She's the one to shoot an arrow to hit the big bad monster, to stun him, to allow Shang-Chi to win the day, to take him out. And she's never fired a bow and arrow a day in her life. Gave her like 1 day of training with a bow and arrow, and she's just able to fire an arrow hundreds of feet into the air and magically pinpoint accurately hit the target she was aiming at. That's the stuff I kind of mean by plot armor. Same thing with Shang-Chi. When Shang-Chi's fighting the Mandarin, he's just magically able to control the 10 rings to take them away from the Mandarin and use them, just like in the trailer when he has 5 of the rings and the Mandarin has 5 of the rings and they're both fighting each other. He's just magically able to do that because the day before he learned, I guess, his mom's fighting style, and that somehow magically beats the 10 rings just because it has to. It's like a lot of things like that I don't like about the movie. Like I said, the movie's still good, but it's just they never explain the 10 rings at all. Like, the movie's called Legend of the 10 Rings. The movie ain't about the 10 rings at all. At all, in any way, shape, or form. The only way is just that, oh, the Mandarin has the 10 rings. That's it. They don't explain, like, maybe I feel some type of way because the Mandarin as a character in the comic books is somebody I love. Like, I love Iron Man comic books. I love the Mandarin. I hate the fact that they made him into bracers and not rings, but hey, MCU, different thing. It is what it is. I get why they steered away from the Mandarin character in the comics. But I was kind of hoping with this movie that they would keep the same kind of origin, or at least rework it, In the comic books, the rings come from space. They're a power source for an alien spaceship. For those of you who don't know, the alien race is a race of big-ass green dragons, like Godzilla-sized dragons. The one of note is called Fin Fang Foom. So the big bad of this movie is a big-ass fucking dragon, And I thought that I was like, okay, well, maybe they're kind of reworking it into Chinese lore and stuff, because that's kind of where Fin Fang Foom comes from, right? In the comic books, not a part of their universe, but as far as the artist creating a character, stuff like that. It makes sense, right? So in this, I thought, well, okay, well, they're making the rings bracers. Maybe they have some kind of mystical tie to the big bad of the movie, and he's called Fin Fang Foom. That's all I wanted, just to explain how the rings work. What are their powers? Give me a basis other than just to show me flashing lights and weird telekinetic abilities with it. But they don't explain shit about the rings. I thought I missed something, right? But now that I'm remembering the movie, they never mention like what the rings actually do. Like, it's not like they get broken down and be like, okay, the rings give the ability to do this. And the only thing that they make them show is just that they are able to whip them around like you saw, to throw them at things. It's like they're kinetic weapons. That's the best way I can probably put it. They never explain if that's the case or not. I mean, I thought it was, but I mean, maybe it is. They never explain it. Like, it's not gravity or nothing like that. It's just that you could just whip them out, bring them back. And throughout the movie, the Mandarin and Shang-Chi were using them to, you can throw them at the ground at your feet and then push off as if like you're pushing off the ground, like you're making a jump with them and things like that. So that's why I say they're like kinetic weapons. But they don't really do anything else. I knew Marvel wasn't gonna bring in the comic book powers of the rings. I knew that wasn't gonna happen. But I was kind of hoping they would explain the rings a little bit more, because that's one of the big points behind the whole Mandarin, But they never do. The movie's more about the other stuff that just gets magically injected in that second act, that third act of the movie. And that's where I say it kind of falters, because if this movie would have been about what happens in the third act throughout the whole movie, then it would have been better. But it's not. It's like this movie is the first half, which is about Shang-Chi, his dad, and him coming after him and all of that. And then the second half just is like, oh, your mom was from this other city and we got to go do this. And then that's the whole point of the rest of the movie, and it just feels detached. It feels like this movie was like two separate movies that they kind of stitched together into a 1-2 hour movie. I don't know how you would explain it, but for me, I would have rather had one movie be about the Mandarin and him leading up to, say, giving birth to Shang-Chi, and let's say have that be his movie, and then lead into Shang-Chi with who Shang-Chi is and the follow-up of what his dad does and who his mom was and stuff like that, and then have the Asian city be the ending of his movie. Like, oh, he's destined to save this Asian city because of something, something like that. But it just feels kind of tacked on, to be honest. And maybe it's just me, I don't know, but it's not bad, like I keep saying, but it's just not the flow was just weird. It definitely really is. And I don't know why they made it that way. Maybe they just had to get the point A to point B, and maybe I'm just overthinking things, but it definitely feels different once they get to explaining what that city is. And once they get there, it's like, oh, we got to prepare for the Mandarin to get here. And then, oh, let's train for a day and we're ready for war. Awkwafina knows how to shoot a bow. Shang-Chi, they all get different outfits, and it's just like, hey, okay, fight the unseen. It just feels kind of weird. It feels like that third act kind of like somebody wanted to check a box. Like, how do we fit all the Asian mystical stuff in one spot? Let's do that. And so they just happen to be there. The fight at the end, it's like doesn't, or it feels like it doesn't matter, you know, because that wasn't the point of the movie. Their fight didn't matter, but the fight at the end that mattered was between Shang-Chi and his dad and the Mandarin. So that's what carried that third act. But at the same time, you also had this other mystical dragon there fighting this other big evil dragon, and that was like the crux of the fight. So their little war fighting each other with the troops didn't really have a whole lot of purpose. It didn't have no part in the movie other than just, oh, they just had to be there, so we have to have them do something. And that's how that whole third act kind of felt. So that's why I said it's not bad, but it definitely could have been better. I feel like if they would have roped everything in story-wise and tied it up a little bit better, then it would have made the overall movie flow a little bit better. But it feels like, I'm not gonna say, it doesn't feel like you have two different writers write the movie. It doesn't feel disjointed like that much, to where you have different competing, you know, story beats and stuff. It definitely does feel disjointed, as in like, I wanted the movie to stay in San Francisco, and then you have to go to the Mandarin spot to have like Shang-Chi fight his way through his dad's forces, the Ten Rings, to get to him and fight him at the end. That's the movie I wanted, you know. But it's like we didn't get that, because it's like it doesn't, well, I was gonna say it doesn't feel completely shoehorned in, but then again it does, because that's probably why they had to have this third act. A lot of the Asian mystical stuff is all in that third act. So you got little cute creatures that they can probably sell toys out of. All the Asian stereotypes when it comes to like the mom's fighting style is like the fighting style from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. All of the Asian characters, the robes, the weapons, and like even some of the weapons were stupid. Like why was the Mandarin's forces having like energy shooting crossbows instead of guns? Like it just feels like, oh, they're fighting with swords and shields and bows and arrows, so it's like, okay, well, they gotta have something that's comparable, you know? Like, no, just straight up give them guns. But it feels like somebody wanted to fit all of that stuff in the movie, so they was like, okay, well, how do we put that in the movie, because it's an Asian movie? Like, it's not completely ham-fisted in there. I'll say this, as somebody who watches all the comic movies, it's not completely shoehorned in your face all day, every day. They could have made it a whole lot worse. I will say that. But it definitely is kind of in there. You definitely notice, like, all the fighting, all the Asian stereotypes that we get from martial arts movies, Asian culture movies, and all of that stuff is in this movie. There's nothing in this movie that, let's say, you haven't seen before as far as Asian culture is concerned. They could have did it a whole lot more. I thought they were going to do like what Black Panther did, where you had the dynamic of, let's say, Chinese native culture versus Americanized Chinese culture. Thought they were going to touch on that a little bit, but they didn't. They just kind of left that alone and only focused on the Asian mythical type of thing. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not 100% know a whole lot about when it comes to Asian culture and myths and stuff like that. So I don't know if any of this, if like an Asian person watched this, I don't know how they would feel by watching this. I don't know if they would feel like it's being stereotyped or whatever. But from an American standpoint, it definitely feels like, yeah, it feels like a bunch of Asian stereotypes in there. And if you're not a fan of that, you're definitely not going to like this third act, because it's all in there. Outside of that, I mean, it's still, I mean, it's a good movie. Like I said, it's like I wanted to like it, but well, I do like it, but I wanted it to be better. Like, I wanted this to be like the Asian Black Panther, where this makes $1 billion, but like, I know that's not going to happen due to COVID and everything like that. But I wanted this to be their movie, just like how Black Panther was to us, you know, as Black people in America. But I just don't think it's going to be that way. This movie has a lot of baggage with Disney trying to pander to China, and I think they just refuse the movie. Like, they're not selling the movie or not promoting it, but not showing the movie in China at all. So I'm not sure why that is. I'm guessing maybe it's due to either Asian politics, or, you know, maybe they have something in the movie that China don't agree with politically, or maybe it's something that they have in there that's, you know, censored and, you know, and when they send a movie over there or something, but they're not showing it at all. So I'm sure Disney doesn't like that, so that's gonna probably lower the movie's profits. It's not gonna be as big as a hit as it would be if they did probably show it in China. But then again, I mean, like I said, maybe Asian people would see this movie differently, and maybe they see the pandering, or maybe they feel like it's appropriating their culture to make an American movie. Maybe that's the case, and maybe that's why they don't want it shown over there. But I do know that a lot of the stuff with the Chinese government, they censor a lot of things, and they don't want their people to become Americanized. And the first 20 minutes of Shang-Chi in this movie is nothing but that Americanized Asian culture for the most part. You know, so maybe they don't want to show that to their people, because they don't want their people to become that. They want them to do what they want them to do. That's what I think, anyway, as from somebody who doesn't know anything about it. But I would say, if you want to see a cool martial arts movie with a decent story, go see this movie. Don't expect it to be like Black Panther, where it's just going to be the biggest thing ever. Don't expect it to change the MCU in any weird kind of ways, because it probably won't. I'm assuming the movie's gonna probably get maybe 2, maybe 3 sequels. Marvel would be stupid not to keep the character around, so they're probably gonna do something with them, you know, later on. So if you're interested to see where the MCU is gonna go with Shang-Chi, I would say check it out. But a lot of the stuff in this movie is probably gonna be isolated, and, you know, I'm wondering what they're gonna do with the 10 rings. Because at the end, Shang-Chi still has the 10 rings. So maybe they may explain the rings backstory in like Shang-Chi 2 or something like that, because it's like they seem important, but then when you watch the movie, they're really not, because it doesn't play into the story at all, you know. But then maybe they may turn around with the next one and be like, oh, the 10 rings have a legacy of, they were supposed to be used for this, and your dad just didn't know that, and blah 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 blah. And, you know, they may make up some backstory with them and do something more. Like I mentioned before, I still hope they bring in Fin Fang Foom. Like, I want to see a big stupid dragon that's like tearing the city apart, and, you know, link it up to the 10 rings, make the story compatible, or at least comparable to what's in the comics. And they can easily do that. I mean, like I said, I could write a story right now in less than 20 minutes. You know, I don't have to think about it. You can easily put it together and do it, but it's just maybe they may not want to do it and stuff like that. So, I really don't know where it can go. They can go anywhere with this. You know, they could even do like I don't know how you would do it, but I know in the comic books, you have Wakanda and Atlantis, let's say, don't like each other because of various things that happen between Black Panther and Namor. They could do something like that, where like maybe, you know, the Asian city of Shang-Chi can fight against Wakanda, and we can see whose magic metal wins. You know. You know, they could do something like that, or better yet, I mean, I doubt they would do this because it's a part of Netflix, but they could roll in Iron Fist and bring in his magical city, and bring in the Iron Fist and do his comic book story arc where all of those cities kind of fought each other, and do like a magical fighting tournament or something for like Shang-Chi 3 or something like that, and keep it isolated. That would be good too. I mean, I would love to see something like that, you know, bring out, you know, show the rest of the mystical cities and all of that stuff. But honestly, I just don't think the people who are headlining the movies, you know, and making all the decisions, I don't think it's in Kevin Feige's plan to do a lot of those interesting ideas, to be honest. I think that they're not making movies at the drop of a hat. They're not doing that. They have a plan in place, but I just don't think their plan is far reaching as I want it to be. And I mean, I guess that could be better or for worse. I mean, they could do it like that because maybe plans could change, and plus they still got to fit in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that eventually. So maybe they don't want to hard set their universe into something and then interject a whole lot of other shit with. They could just, let it go and then, take it piece by piece, chunk by chunk, and then see how they can roll everything in. So maybe that's why they're doing it. But Shang-Chi is good as a movie because it definitely does open up even though it's kind of already been opened up with Doctor Strange and Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, to open up the cosmic side of things. I guess you could say this opens up the Asian mystical side of things, and they can always pull stuff from that and put them in other movies, or put them in other Shang-Chi specific movies and stuff like that. So if you wanted to do anything else with, let's say, magical Asians, mythical creatures and stuff like that, that's a part of Asian culture, you can do that. But then again, given how China is with Disney and the politics that's going around right now, they may not even care, since by China not showing the movie, I'm pretty sure Disney eventually, and Hollywood as a whole, is going to look at that and be like, well, if China is not receptive to none of our shit, why should we put all of that shit in our movies? And they probably won't pander as much to China like they've been doing for the past 10 going on 15 years. So they may just decide to squash all of that and just keep Shang-Chi being Shang-Chi, just a regular kung fu guy with the 10 rings, and cutting out all the pandering and the mystical city at all. They may not even touch it no more. It could be something like that, but I don't know. But anyways, fellas, sorry for rambling on too much. I tried not to spoil a whole lot. I try to keep it as non-spoiler spoilerish as I can, but I know this video is probably going on 40 minutes right now, but we're gonna upload it anyway. So if you guys have anything to say about Shang-Chi, if you guys seen it, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.